Hi guys, welcome to video 4 of Pathway to Stronger Relationships. This is a video series that is aimed at helping you make the decision on whether or not to go to counseling. So it's an introduction to what couples counseling actually is. And I'm Vanessa. Um, so I'm your host, and thank you for joining me. This series, in case you're just joining us right here at this point, this series is aimed to help you kind of like meet you where you're at, wherever you're at, right? So if you've just had a fight, or whether you're aware of this kind of push pull dynamic that we've talked about, or this cycle, or if you've just, you just got some like betrayal news, like anything that you are going through right now, this series is designed to answer a lot of the questions that we've received in inquiries when they're looking for counseling. So let's jump in, because this video is specifically meant to address what couples counseling is like. Because we've talked about maybe some of the reasons why couples go to counseling, what that feels like in general. And then 2, we've talked about that cycle, and it really, no matter what you've got going on, it kind of comes down to these like defensive coping strategies that we have in our couples. And so and that helps us to make sense of it. Then we've also covered about like this underlying emotions that drive it. So when you think of things like betrayal, when you think of things like big things, there's going to be some deep emotions. And that's what we do in couples counseling, is start to uncover all of the topical stuff and then get down to the bottom stuff. And so in therapy, what we do, first, we will back up for a second. There's 3 stages that we go through in emotionally focused therapy. That's this kind of model that will identify this cycle and then go down into the underlying emotions. And so that's EFT. It's a really trusted model when it comes to couples therapy, and it is a well, it's the gold standard. It's pretty evidence based. So, or it is evidence based. All right. So it's also a structured approach. And so what that means, or what I mean by that, is that with each session, you're making progress, or you are in one stage versus another stage, right? So you're making this progression forward. And so in these, there's 3 stages. There's de-escalation, and then restructuring the bonds, and then consolidation. So in the first stage, that's just when couples start to come to counseling. They are usually, there's a reason why they've come to counseling, whether that's like something really big has happened in their life and they are looking for help to process it, or there's just this feeling like no matter what they do, they can't break out of these like kind of circular communication stuff, and it just doesn't feel like their communication goes deeper. So whatever the reason that a couple comes to counseling, what we do first off is identify that cycle. So identify what is keeping you from having some of these deeper conversations, and what the purpose for identifying the cycle is just so that we can see it. Because without seeing it and without identifying it in partnerships, we don't really think of it like that. And that's literally what's keeping us from going deeper and having some of these deeper conversations. So that's the first stage. The first stage is really about identifying the cycle. What are the coping strategies? What am I doing that's pushing my partner away? What's my partner doing that's pushing me away? We identify that in the first stage. The second stage is where we go deeper. We talk about some of these really deeper emotions. We talk about the attachment need um, that goes along with that emotion. That's where we start really reaching for our partner in this dependable way. And so a therapist in that will help you to get to that deeper level. That's another thing that we're not really used to doing on a day-to-day basis, is getting to that level with our partner. Um, but if you think about it, that's what brought you guys together in the first place, is you were curious and excited to be with each other. That's what we're starting to recreate in that second stage, is just that curiosity, that capacity to go a little deeper, or to go deeper, and to be able to share that more vulnerable, soft things with our partner. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I don't want to do that, I don't need to get into that place with my partner. Well, of course, that's part of it, right? We're not going to take you anywhere that you don't want to go. That's not our intention as therapists. And so I also want to make that explicit. But what we do want to do is not necessarily get into those kind of gooey, mushy feelings. It's just to be able to get into this place where you feel safe to share your emotions with your partner, and where they are safe people to hear your softer emotions. So that's the second stage. The third stage is consolidation, where we put it all together. So we bring in, we just kind of look at the bigger picture. This is, this is what the cycle is. This is how it's kept from going deeper. And then with that understanding comes I get like a greater capacity to be able to solve problems. So these are the places where we get, where we talk about like the chore list, or we talk about the date nights, or we talk about like sexual like frequency, and we talk about sexual like needs and fantasies and stuff like that. So it's not just so like that is that's the purpose of consolidation. I do want to make, and that's the third stage. So, but I want to make one point kind of clear, is that we talk about sex in the first stage because it definitely is going to have a part of your cycle. If you think about like, if sex is part of what you fight about, you and your partner, it's definitely a part of the cycle. And then just because we're human and we're wired in this way, sex, and especially sex with our partner, is going to touch on these more vulnerable, softer feelings. And so, and that's part of human attachment, is having sex. So then, so of course we're going to talk about it in the second session, or in the second stage. But in the third stage, we get to talk about it in a more constructive way. And so that's where that kind of falls into. So that's what it's like to be in couples counseling. That's kind of what to expect. Is first you'll be identifying the cycle. Second, you'll be going a little deeper. And third, you'll be solving problems. And so not necessarily one session is stage 1, one session is stage 2, and one session is stage 3. It really is, we can spend kind of a long time in stage 1, depending on how hard it is to identify the cycle. We can spend a lot of time in stage 2, or we could spend a lot of time in stage 2, depending on what types of feeling or what feelings are there and how long it's been in this where maybe there's a lot to just uncover and unpack about oneself and about your partner. And then so those can last a few sessions, um, or sometimes more than a few sessions. But there is a direction, and ideally it's moving forward. And a therapist should be able to tell you where you're at um, in couples counseling. So one of the things that an EFT therapist is not wanting to do, right? Like is to kind of keep you in therapy indefinitely, or just to be able to talk about the last fight, for instance. And so to just come in whenever you have a fight. An EFT therapist will be helping you navigate along this path. And so facilitating that movement forward or that progression forward in your intimacy or in your relationship. And then I just want to wrap up this session with a little bit more about the qualities of an EFT therapist, or just a good couples therapist in general, is that a couples therapist is going to be able to handle both partners' stories or both partners' needs, both partners' perspective. And so a couples therapist will be able to hear both of you equally and value both of you equally. And so even though I know that makes probably logical sense, a lot of times couples will come in and one of them has been really hurt. And so it's really important for the couples therapist to be able to see both sides, and so that it helps with be able to take away a lot of the shame and some of these other feelings that the partner that has hurt potentially is experiencing as well. So anyway, there's a therapist should be able to hold both of these stories, and that's a really important part of couples therapy. So that's the end of our last video, our fourth video. Our next video, which will be our last video, is video 5, and that's where we're going to wrap it all up. We're going to put it all together. And also in that video that I want to talk about, it's important is that if you are one partner and you're doing all of this research and you're watching these videos and you're looking for counseling and you're finding the right counselor for you, but your partner just isn't necessarily on board, or maybe they're saying like, I don't want to go to counseling, or I don't need to. And so you are probably, as the person who is looking for counseling, are probably feeling a little bit of distress, even just in that tension. And so in the next video, I'll talk a little bit about the things that you can do to take care of yourself while you are waiting, or while you are having these conversations with your partner to go to counseling. So I will see you in the next one, and thank you so much.